I mean, who else was going to start this one? Mortal Kombat, a movie released in 1995 based on a game series that had all been around since 1992. We were already 2 games deep and a third ready to land in the arcade to coincide with a film. Hype levels were high for this one. Mortal Kombat was controversial, it was violent, and it was everywhere. The first games had been an arcade smash. Digitised actors added a touch of realism compared to other fighting games at the time. Mortal Kombat wasn't the first to go this route, but it was one that had done it best so far. The gore was over the top. You could end your match with fatalities, short bursts of super violent sequences to humiliate your opponent. They'd become a favourite pastime of, well, almost everyone, and the kids loved it. Of course, that meant the parents hated it. They took one look at the fatalities and they would freak out. They weren't the only ones, soon politicians would pile on. There were hearings in the US Senate.
What you're about to see are scenes from 2 of the most violent new video games. First we have Mortal Kombat.
Not just because of Mortal Kombat, all the games like Night Trap, and to a lesser extent games like Doom as well. But make no mistake, Mortal Kombat was one of the major ones that caused a call for action, and before long we had a video game age ratings. And that's the short version, there's a whole history lesson out there if you want it. But you don't need me for that. What you do need is what happened when Hollywood smelled the hype and said, yeah, well, let's make a movie out of that. The game itself didn't give you much story, just a few screens to read on the attract mode, and who really does that anyway? Times have changed and now the story's been retconned and tangled into something beyond most people's comprehension, but back then, it was simple. Earthrealm, Outworld. A sorcerer called Shang Tsung who's been exiled to Earthrealm, a fighting tournament called Mortal Kombat. If Shang Tsung wins Mortal Kombat 10 times in a row, Outworld takes over Earth. He's already won 9 thanks to his 4-round champion Goro, and we join the action at number 10. Earth has to send its best warriors to stop her, and as well, it's not good. The story is straightforward enough and the movie sticks pretty close to that setup. To tell the story properly and in a way that makes more sense on screen, the movie takes most inspiration from the first game, but brings in some ideas from the second game as well. Given the time of the movie, that makes sense and it's easy to forgive, especially with some of the atrocities that have been done to previous video game adaptations. So, who do we have defending our collective honour? Liu Kang, ex-Shaolin monk, out to avenge his brother's death and, save humanity while he's at it, played by Robin Shaw. In the original game there was no brother subplot, he was just the chosen one, but that fight and the film ties more directly to Raiden, God of Thunder, protector of Earthrealm. Christopher Lambert in the film with that gravelly laugh. Pretty much the same character in the game, just with a different spelling if you looked in the credits, because 90s. Johnny Cage, Hollywood action star in both game and film. In the film brought to us by Lyndon Ashby, not exactly a big name at the time, and there's an irony there somewhere. Game and movie both have been entering the tournament to prove he's not a fraud. And fun fact for you, the character is based on Jean-Claude Van Damme, who was busy playing Guile in Street Fighter at the time of this film. Sonya Blade, Bridget Wilson steps into role for this one. In the game, Sonya is forced into the tournament by Shang Tsung. In the movie, she's chasing Kano for killing her partner. Either way, special forces with the chip on her shoulder. It's not a million miles apart. Kitana. She's not in the first game, she's one of the ones pulled in from Mortal Kombat 2. In the game, she's Shao Kahn's assassin. In the film, Talisa Soto played as more of a double agent, secretly helping Earth's fighters. That pretty much has the hero's part sorted out, so who's he trying to stop? Well, Kano. Shover Godai plays him. In the game, he's a mercenary. Here he's tied more tightly to Sonya's story, which works fine and means the film doesn't have to drown itself in irrelevant lore, and they'd actually retcon his story later to fit more with this version anyway. Scorpion and Sub-Zero. I'll lump these together because, well, everyone does. In the film, both are under Shang Tsung's control, and we don't learn much about them other than that. Sub-Zero is played by Francois Petit, and Scorpion is played by Chris Casmassa. In the game, Sub-Zero has his own reasons for entering the tournament, while Scorpion is there for revenge. A Spectre brought back from the dead with one goal: kill Sub-Zero. They both got the signature moves, Scorpion's spear, Sub-Zero's eyes. The fans were happy enough. Scorpion's is voiced by one of the game's creators, Ed Boon himself. Reptile. In the games he was unlocked with a double flawless condition. In the film he's a CGI lizard ninja servant until suddenly he isn't. Weird choice, but hey, he's there, and when he is, he's portrayed by Keith Cook. Goro, the 4-armed sub-boss. Had to carry over from a digitised price in the arcade, but they pulled it off with a huge animatronic puppet built by ADI and a team of puppeteers. Looks impressive, moves quite awkwardly. Very 90s, but fun. Shang Tsung, played by Karahiro Yuki Tagawa. Younger in the film than his white and game counterpart, but when you're a shape-shifting sorcerer, it just doesn't really matter. And honestly, he still has every scene he's in anyway.
flawless victory.
Shao Kahn even pops up right at the end as a CG effect, but that's more fan service than anything else. So, the film itself. Well, just a year before we'd had Street Fights with Jean-Claude Van Damme, and let's just say it didn't exactly set the bar high. I've done a whole video on that if you want to check it out. Mortal Kombat went simple and stuck to the tournament story people expected. And it worked. The plot is basically, heroes travel to a magical island and fight for the fate of the world. Raiden does his cryptic mentor routine, Shang Tsung schemes, the good guys punch and kick their way through it. Again, just like the source material, it's simple and it's honest. Director Paul W.S. Anderson was a newcomer. He didn't know much about martial arts films. He leaned on the experienced actors and the stunt team, and the choreography holds up surprisingly well because of that. The budget? About 18 million. Small even then. New Line Cinema were the ones to bankroll it, the same studio that had brought A Nightmare on Elm Street to the party, so they knew their score. The rating? PG-13, which meant toning down the gore and the fatalities. Not great news for the fans, but they did what they could. The producers fought the censors constantly about this, but they could only do so much. They'd have to fight with the soundtrack as well, which is kind of odd in hindsight, given that the tune is probably still in your head after hearing the start of this video. The studio wanted rock, but the filmmakers pushed the now iconic techno theme. I guess we know he was right. The track in question is called Techno Syndrome, which was released by Belgian group The Immortals, just in case you didn't know. In the end, it'd go platinum, outlived the film, and it still slaps today. It will never not be the theme to Mortal Kombat. It was even updated with a new remix by Benjamin Wallstridge when they rebooted the film series in 2021. Teaser bars underscored the end of the first trailer, and let me tell you, when they did, goosebumps were felt. I'll link it in the description below so you don't have to search for it afterwards. The film, well, critics mostly hated it. Low budget effects, cheesy acting, thin plot. It was pretty standard for other game to movie adaptations at the time, but it made Mortal Kombat an easy target. Audiences? Different story. Mortal Kombat made around 122 million worldwide on an 18 million budget. That, my friends, is something nobody can argue with, and if they do, they're wrong. Gamers loved it then, and Tanyan is very kind to it. I think it's fair to say it's pretty much a cult film now. Even some of the critics have admitted they judged it too harshly. Today, it's one of the few game movies people look back on fondly, and I'll admit to having used this as a bit of a comfort film from time to time. It's just an easy watch. I'm not going to sit here and try and convince you it's one of the best films ever made. It's not. But what I will say is that in the games movie niche, it's pretty damn close. Mortal Kombat the movie is a rare beast. It's a film that lives up to and honours its source material. Even the changes that were made actually made sense to the point that some of them made it into the games later on down the line. That is what it's supposed to be about. I can't help but feel some kind of retrospective pride that those involved in making the game stuck to their guns. It's actually a bit weird that Paul W.S. Anderson made this and then the Resident Evil movies, but that's another video. The legacy of the film is still felt today. The actors even came out with some DLC in Mortal Kombat 11. The film, however, peaked early. Obviously, with so much money on the table, a sequel was quickly greenlit, and then in 1997 we got Mortal Kombat Annihilation. And then we immediately wish we hadn't. It wasn't good. It's hard to say what went wrong really. Paul W.S. Anderson couldn't return to direct again. Some of the cast members couldn't either, and instead of waiting to recast, well, they just did it anyway.
There can be only one.
But I'll tell you about that another time. The film didn't just get a sequel. Mortal Kombat had already started to sprawl into other media. First up was Mortal Kombat The Journey Begins in 1995, a straight to VHS animated tie-in released alongside the movie. On paper it was a prequel giving you Raiden narrating the backstory of the tournament. Let's remember more from clunky hand-drawn animation and some very early CGI fight scenes that, well, haven't aged well. In 1996 came Mortal Kombat Defenders of the Realm, a Saturday morning cartoon that took all the violence out and turned the cast into a superhero task force. It only lasted one season, which is probably more than anyone needed, but it kept the brand alive. They'll make a Saturday morning cartoon if they want. In 1998, Mortal Kombat Conquest hit TV, a live-action prequel series set centuries before the games following the original Kung Lao. It leaned hard on leather costumes, soap opera melodrama and low-budget martial arts. And again, it was cancelled after one season. It has a certain cult oddity status now though. Obviously, none of these set the world on fire, but they did keep Mortal Kombat in the spotlight. And if nothing else, they can at least make a smile when we look back at them now. The games themselves have thrived. They still remain popular today. The series never went away. We got spin-offs like Mythologies featuring Sub-Zero, which, let's be honest, was rough, and Special Forces, which somehow managed to be worse. The Shaolin Monks in 2005, a co-op beat-em-up that people seem to remember fondly. The mainline games pushed into 3D with Mortal Kombat 4 in the PlayStation 2 era, gone with the digitised graphics from this point on. As recently as 2023, we saw a big reboot for the series, the confusingly titled Mortal Kombat 1. It reset the series with a brand new timeline and more than muddied the waters, but proved there's life in an old Goro yet. Through all that, Mortal Kombat managed to stay relevant when a lot of its rivals faded. The fact that it still stands tall today after all it's been through is a testament in itself. The fatalities got bigger, the rosters stranger and the stories messier. But the core idea never changed, and ridiculous characters beating the life out of each other in the most over-the-top way possible. The film series has seen a reboot as well. The first of a new series started in 2021 with a bigger and better budget than ever before. So yeah, that's Mortal Kombat, one of the very few game-to-movie adaptations that work. I probably won't get to say that too often, so savour it while you can. And that's that. If you've enjoyed this look back, then press that like button to let me know. Maybe even subscribe so you won't miss the next video while you're there. And even if you don't, I'll be here with another video soon. Anyways, I've been Paul and this has been Pixels Popcorn. Thanks for watching.